Hello, thank you so much for dropping by this video. So this is going to be a short little talk on what is the path of surrender to God? What does it mean? Maybe more importantly, how the heck do you do it? So first and foremost, it's an attitude. It's an attitude that we are making a decision, or the person who's embarking on it is making a decision that God is going to be in charge. God, as defined by the individual, higher power, is going to be the director of our life. And in essence, we're going to surrender control, or when I say we, I mean someone who follows this path, surrenders control and says, okay, God, not my will, thy will be done. It's literally, it is what it is. It's surrendering to God. So first it's that attitude. And then, well, how do you do that? And then how do you live? Well, there's many different models for how to do it. One of the ones I found the most effective is the original 12-step program, which is very different than the modern version. But in the original 12-step program, it went something like this. One recognized one's need for God, that a person really can't succeed in life run on self-will, meaning where I'm in charge and I make decisions and I know what's best. So first needs to come the recognition that that attitude just doesn't work. And secondly, then there needs to be some faith or faith in a higher power that can actually guide and direct our life. And then the next step is making a decision to live that way, to surrender and to dedicate one's life to this process. It's not a casual thing. It's not meditate twice a day. It becomes the overriding attitude or perspective or approach that one takes to life, right? Because think about this, when you arrive at a job and you're an employee, there's a certain attitude that you take on. You take on like, okay, I do what the boss says. Very different if you were to when you walk in the front door of a business, you have a very different attitude when you're the boss compared to where you're the employee. So it's literally a examining of some very fundamental values. So after making that decision and first really reflecting if you want to make that decision and if it makes sense, then comes looking at what has blocked you from God in the past. They call it making an inventory and uncovering the things that have cut you off. There's the idea that God's all around us and always communicating, but we haven't been listening. And part of why we haven't been listening is because of habits we have and tendencies such as selfishness and resentment and fear that cut us off from the divine connection. So becoming aware of those things through self-reflection, then sharing those with another person and with God, in essence, making a confession of past things that have cut us off from God, and then being willing that those characteristics and habits and traits be removed, and then asking God to remove them. After that comes making a list of all people that we have harmed and becoming willing to make amends to such people. Because guilt is all of us have hurt people. It's part of being human. We step on each other's toes. But the question is, have we apologized? Have we tried to make up for it? And the guilt of not having done that can weigh very heavily on a person and really cut them off from God. And then making amends. The next part of the process is then how to live the surrendered life. If you notice, the first couple things were about making a change of attitude, then cleaning up the past, and now, well, how to live this surrendered life. And what that entails is starting off your day with morning prayer and meditation of, okay, God, what's your will for me? And there's a very specific process that actually works for how to receive that guidance. Next is throughout the day, being mindful of your thoughts and being mindful of those defects of character, those things that blocked us from God, because they can come back. And what to do when they come back. When resentment and fear come back, that really cuts us off from God. And then that interferes with living a God-inspired and a God-directed life. And so what to do when those interferences happen. Next, it's as we going throughout the day, as much as possible, asking, okay, God, what's next? And waiting and listening. And then ending the day with reflecting on the day. And there's all these things I'm giving a very broad picture, but there's very specific instructions for how to do this in the original 12-step program. And at the end of the day, really taking inventory, like, okay, how did I do today? Where was I selfish? Where was I fearful? Where was I resentful? Was I trying to direct the show, or was I really asking God throughout the day? What could I have done better? Because in this process of surrendering to God, our life becomes about being connected to God and serving God. And so it's like, well, how'd I do today? It's kind of like an employee evaluation, a self-employee evaluation at the end of the day. And when it feels right, to then share this message and way of life with others. So that's an outline. There's many details that get filled in. And the thing is, to do this path, there's really only one requirement, and that's that one is really serious. Because this isn't a little thing. Like I said, this isn't meditate twice a day. This isn't for 20 minutes. This isn't like, okay, I'm gonna exercise more. This is it's a way of life. And then the final step is then to deepen and grow in it, to seek, to surrender more and more, and to seek guidance more and more, and to become more effective and become more, you could almost say, efficient in this path of listening to God and dealing with inner blockages as they arise and being of service. And so, when I say seriousness, there's so much joy in this, because it's a life full of meaning. It's a life full of connection to God, and it's a life full of service, and it's a life full of being guided by inspiration. It takes, you have to kind of want it, right? It's not, it takes a real desire of being like, yes, God, I want to be your employee, because God gives us free will. Doesn't force us to surrender, but life goes so much better. So, to anyone who's interested in learning this path, I share it for people. I don't charge anything. And I'm happy to accept donations for it, but I don't solicit that. And the real requirements are that one be very serious about it, or one have a serious intention and be willing to grow. I haven't perfected, no one's perfected surrender. No one's perfected being guided by God. It's an ongoing growth process. Yeah, that one have the strong desire and strong intention. There's a book that you don't have to buy, but I strongly recommend it because you're going to want to take notes, and but you can get a free copy online. But the book is, well, I need to check on the edition, so I'll get back to you on that. And possibly a second book. And the other thing is that it's not really counseling. It's a kind of coaching. It's like, I or anyone else who teaches this teaches someone a new way of life. And there is deep sharing that goes on, because like I said, a part of it is confession. And you don't have to confess to the person who's teaching you the steps, though it's very helpful. It's very cathartic. And yeah, to anyone who feels deeply drawn to this way of life, I'm happy to have a conversation and see if we're a match. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. And if you feel drawn to it, please send me an email. My email will be listed below. And let me know what time zone you're in, and let me know some good days and times and how you would like to talk. We could do phone, Skype, WhatsApp, even Facebook Messenger. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day. Take care.